We are discussing 40 days of pleasure. What's it all about? 40 days of pleasure. And we'll make one last pitch here for our 40-day initiative at the Kosel for single women. We're looking for their zivug. I'm going to daven 40 days at the Kosel straight. And the 40 women involved will daven for each other. Two powerful tools to get Bezrat Hashem to be zoiche to a zivug. We have one or two places left, Bezrat Hashem. And if you would like to be part of this initiative, which involves donating $40 a month to the Kollel as well, to my Kollel, then please be in touch at office@rabbitravis.org. Office@rabbitravis.org. Okay, we're talking about the Gemara, the astounding Gemara in Erechin, Daf Tes Zayin and Beis. The Gemara says two things we mentioned in the last class. Number one is that if you haven't had Yisurim for 40 days, then you lost your chelik, your portion in the world to come. And number two, the example of the Yisurim is your clothes being tight, your wine being cold, and your money not taking the right change out of your pocket. And what is significant about this? So let's start with that question. Why these three examples of Yisurim? What's special about these three particular cases? Right? There are billions and billions of examples. Anybody who lives in this world could tell you many, many examples of difficulties that we have in our life. As there's something called Chok Murphy in Israel. In English, that's Murphy's Law. An Israeli once asked me, Hamerikayim yesh gam Chok Murphy? I said, what do you mean? We invented it. Murphy, he was American or Irish. But the point is like this, right? These three examples, let's take a pause, as it were, and let's think about, instead of talking about Yisurim, let's talk about pleasure for a second. What's the greatest pleasures that we could have in this world? And probably the place to look would be in Simchas Yantiv. We have a mitzvah deraisa on Yantiv, Samachta b'chagecha, to be happy. And each group of people, right, men, women, and children, have their own way to be happy. Women are happy with new clothing. You buy, husband, parents, neighbors, they buy new clothing for a woman, nice, beautiful clothing. That makes her happy. For a man, the Gemara says, Ein simcha ela babasar b'yayin, but really wine. As the pasuk says, Yayin yisamach lev enosh. Wine makes a person happy. Yeah, wine is something, especially good, fine wine, type of wine you can make the bracha v'atova meitivan. That can make a man really, really happy. And for children, it's sweets. Right? How do you buy sweets? You need money. If we think about that, the mitzvah of Simchas Yantif, wherein lies the keys, as it were, to get to pleasure in this world, then we see that each of these examples that the Gemara is giving us is a type of pleasure that's connected with Simchas Yantif, right? A person puts on their clothing and it's too tight. Clothing gives a person great pleasure. But not just pleasure. Clothing changes your whole demeanor. You come into Shabbos with Shabbos clothing, you feel like a different person. Yeah, I remember once, it was Shabbos Chazon. We were away for Shabbos Chazon, and we got to the place late, and I couldn't change my clothes. I just didn't have time. Went straight to Ma'ariv in my weekday clothes, which in fact, as Haldor Ramah says, that's the halacha. Yeah, we're not knowing like that. Most people, Yekes I heard are, but most people wear Shabbos clothing even on Shabbos Chazon, the Shabbos before Tisha B'Av. And I just felt weird. It felt strange. It felt like it wasn't Shabbos, which is how you're supposed to feel, in fact. But clothing changes our whole demeanor. And if we have really nice clothing, it makes us feel joy. You go to a wedding, everyone's wearing nice clothing, and a guy walks in shorts and a t-shirt, sandals, right? He's out of place. Okay, so that's for women. Women is clothing. We said a second great pleasure is wine, right? Mean of wine. Wine gladdens a person's heart. It makes them really happy. All mitzvahs, almost. Many mitzvahs, in fact. Rashi says, why is there a special bracha on wine? Brei Pri Hagafen? Because it's koveya bracha la'atzmai. Yeah? Most mitzvahs, chasanas, brisim, pidyon ben, mila writes bris, many, many mitzvahs are done over wine. Yeah? It's shira, lel, seder, we say the whole seder on a cup of wine, Kiddush Friday night, right? Wine is a powerful tool. It's a powerful mechanism to come to Simcha. And then, of course, money. Money is a something which we get what we need, and that could give us great joy. So, the Gemara is specifically speaking about Yisurim in these three areas. The three areas where there's the greatest joy, right, where we have a mitzvah of Simcha, these are the areas where we have to have Yisurim once every 40 days. Now, again, it doesn't have to be those areas. It could be any areas, but specifically, the fact that the Gemara chose these three areas is teaching us that the message of Chazal's words, why, is giving us a clue to why we need once every 40 days to have Yisurim. Because why? Why do we have to have difficulties in the world? And even more startling is, why did we lose our Olam Haba if we didn't have these Yisurim? Right? So once every 40 days, we need to have Yisurim in life, and specifically the Gemara says the message is most driven home in these three areas. Yeah, Rashi points out even this is called Yisurim. Even this is called Yisurim. But it's clear if Chazal picked these three out of billions, millions, and billions of examples, then there's a special message in these three areas. And we pointed out these are the places where you can have the greatest simcha. In the place where you can have the greatest simcha, there Chazal said that we can experience Yisurim. And the message of this phenomenon of having Yisurim in places every 40 days, it seems like that is the key. The key to understanding it is why specifically in these three areas, why in the place where we have a mitzvah of Simcha and Yantiv, that's the places where Chazal chose to give us example of Yisurim. So B'ezrat Hashem will continue giving you some food for thought to think about that, right? Some food and wine and clothing and money for thought. Why these three areas? Why is it that that's the place we have to have Yisurim? Hashem should help us get clarity and understanding. Amen. Kain Tzon.